We should be the example of how to live this life. And if we're not, we don't deserve to hold a position.
To the U.S. now, and another abuse of faith. This time, nearly 400 Southern Baptist Convention leaders are accused of sexual misconduct against 700 victims since 1998. It's a sex scandal that has exposed those abusing their influence and power in the church. Dr. Serene Jones is the president of Union Theological Seminary. She joins me now from New York City. Doctor, you've said before the church cannot stay silent on these issues. What should we do then in wake of this tragedy?
Well, there is so much we should say. We should be talking about it as you are today, and we should not stop talking about it until radical change happens. You know, when I heard those numbers, 400 clergy accused, 700 victims, you know that the real numbers have to be 5 times at least as high, given how hard it is for people to come forward in these contexts. And I have to say that, sadly, given the history of patriarchy and power in the church, it's not surprising to me.
Well, this, Doctor, is obviously an abuse of power problem. So what needs to change in the church?
Well, it's very easy, as I have read about what's happening in the Southern Baptist Church, to think that if you have more education classes for clergy, and if you give them more trainings on not overstepping boundaries, that you're going to address the issue. And while I think those are absolutely important, and every seminary should require any pastor going into a church to take these courses and be trained, absolutely. And there needs to be strictures and there needs to be accountability. But all of those things in place are not going to prevent this from happening until the underlying theology upon which the whole structure is built is changed. As long as you have a theology where at the very top of that theology is God the Father, and you have a theology which says only men can be representatives or witnesses publicly to this Father, you've set up a patriarchal structure where women and children are always put in a subservient and submissive role. And there's no way a structure like that will not always lead to the potential for abuse.
So then why should people trust the church?
Well, they have a lot of good reasons not to trust the church. And maybe one of the things that we need to be inside the church teaching our own children is that they should not have unquestioned trust in the church or in their pastors, that their trust should lie in the witness of Jesus Christ. But we need to stop building idols and icons that we attribute too much power to, and we block out the gospel message. That's the message that should be trust, and that's where our faith should be.
And you have a book out now, Call It Grace, which addresses your own journey of healing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a book that addresses many of these issues. It's a memoir in which I explore the ways in my own life in which understanding the grace of God, the magnitude of God's love, but also our potential for sinfulness, so sin and grace, how those two have constantly played themselves out in my own growing self-understanding over time. And it's not only a deeply personal book about my own faith journey as a progressive Christian, but it addresses in my own life issues of racism, white supremacy, sexual abuse in my own life, and the list goes on in terms of issues that are not just personal, although for me they are, but they are massive social issues that we need to be addressing.
Thank you, Dr. Serene Jones, for joining us.